Yogi Rupnathji always lives amongst innumerable people around him, everyone respect him, so countless people always come to see him every day. When some of the young college boys and girls who came for the first time asked Yogi Rupnathji about their future responsibilities, then Yogi Rupnathji said, "This diversity arises on account of mental modifications and it will cease when they cease. When self-knowledge-will confirmed person attained peace and remained in nirvikalpa samadhi. The surest sign of a man of the highest wisdom is that he is unattracted by the pleasures of the world, for in him I and the subtle tendencies have ceased. When these bodily tendencies are strong, there is bondage. When they have ceased, there is liberation. He is truly a liberated sage who by nature is not swayed by sense pleasure, without the motivation of fame or other incentives." Yogi Rupnathji then said, "I shall now impart to all of you the wisdom which was revealed to me by the divine creator Brahma, pure mind particle himself. Oh my dear friends, countless have been the universes that have come into being and that have been dissolved. In fact, even the countless universes that exist at this moment are impossible to conceive of. All this can immediately be realized in one's own heart. For these universes are the creations of the desires that arise in the heart, like castles built in the air. Neither the world of matter nor the modes of creation are truly real, yet the living and the dead think and feel they are real. Ignorancy of this truth keeps up the appearance." Yogi Rupnathji said them, "Oh my dear friends, even as water remains water whether there are waves or no waves, whatever be the external appearance of the liberated sage, his wisdom remains unchanged. The difference is only in the eyes of the ignorant spectator. Therefore, oh my dear friends, listen to what I am about to say. This instruction is sure to remove the darkness of ignorance. In this world whatever is gained only by self-effort. Where failure is encountered it is seen that there has been slackness in the effort. This is obvious. But what is called fate is fictitious, and is not seen. Self-effort," Yogi Rupnathji then said, "Oh my dear friends, is that mental, verbal and physical action which is in with the instructions of a holy person well versed in the scriptures. It is only by such effort that Indra became king of heaven. That particle Brahma became the creator. And the other deities earned their places. Self-effort is of two categories, that of past births and that of this birth. The latter effectively counteracts the former. Fate is none other than self-effort of a past incarnation. There is constant conflict between these two in this incarnation, and that which is more powerful triumphs. Self-effort which is not in accord with the scriptures is motivated by delusion. When there is obstruction in the fruition of self-effort, one should examine it to see if there is such deluded action. And if there is, it should be immediately corrected. There is no power greater than right action in the present. Hence, one should take recourse to self-effort, grinding one's teeth, and one should overcome evil by and fate by presome effort. The lazy man is worse than a donkey. One should never yield to laziness but strive to attain liberation. Seeing that life is ebbing away every moment, one should not revel in the filth known as sense pleasures as a worm revels in pus. One who says, "Fate is directing me to do this," is brainless, and the goddess of fortune abandons him. Hence, by self-effort acquire wisdom and then realize that the self-effort is not without its own end. In the direct realization of the truth, if this dreadful source of evil named laziness is not found on earth, who will ever be illiterate and visible? It is because laziness if found on earth that people live the life of animals, miserable and poverty-stricken. As is the effort, so is the fruit. Yogi Rupnathji said, "Oh my dear friends, this is the meaning of self-effort, and it is also known as fate or divine. When afflicted by suffering, people cry, 'Alas, what tragedy!' or 'Alas, at my fate,' both of which mean the same thing. What is called fate or divine will is nothing other than the action or self-effort of the past. The present is infinitely more potent than the past. They indeed are fools who are satisfied with the fruits of their past effort, means which they regard as divine will, and do not engage themselves in self-effort now. Sometimes it happens that without effort someone makes a great gain. For example, the state elephant chooses, in accordance with an ancient practice, a mendicant as the ruler of a country whose king suddenly died without leaving an heir. This is certainly neither an accident nor some kind of divine act, but the fruit of the mendicant's self-effort in the past birth. Sometimes it happens that a farmer's efforts are made fruitless by a hailstorm. Surely, the hailstorm's own power was greater than the farmer's effort, and the farmer should put forth greater effort now. He should not grieve over the inevitable loss. If such grief is justified, why should he not weep daily over the inevitability of death? The wise man should of course know what is capable of attainment by self-effort and what is not. It is ignorance, however, to attribute all this to an outside agency and to say that God sends me to heaven or to hell, or that an outside agency makes me do this or that. Such an ignorant person should be shunned. One should free oneself from likes and dislikes and engage oneself in righteous self-effort and reach the supreme truth, knowing that self-effort alone is another name for divine will. We only ridicule the fatalist. That alone is self-effort which springs from right understanding that manifests in one's heart, which has been exposed to the teachings of the adios and the conduct of holy ones. Yogi Rupnathji then said, "Oh my dear friends, one should, with a body free from illness and mind free from distress, pursue self-knowledge so that he is not born again here. Such self-effort has a threefold and therefore threefold fruit: an inner awakening in the intelligence, a decision in the mind, and the physical action. Self-effort is based on these three: knowledge of scriptures, instructions of the preceptor, and one's own effort. Fate or divine dispensation does not enter here. Hence, he who desires salvation should divert the impure mind to pure endeavor by persistent effort. This is the very essence of all audio." Yogi Rupnathji said, "Oh my dear friends, the tendencies brought forward from past incarnations are of two kinds: pure and impure. The pure ones lead you towards liberation, and the impure ones invite trouble. You are indeed consciousness itself, not inert physical matter. You are not impelled to action by anything other than yourself. Hence you are free to strengthen the pure latent tendencies in preference to the impure ones. The holy ones emphasize, persistently tread the path that leads to the eternal subject. And the wise seeker knows, the fruit of my endeavors will be commensurate with the intensity of my self-effort, and neither fate nor a god can ordain it otherwise. Indeed, such self-effort alone is responsible for whatever man gets here, when he is sunk in unhappiness. To console him, people suggest that it is his fate. This is obvious: one goes abroad and one appeases one's hunger by undertaking a journey and by eating food, not on account of a fate. No one has seen such a fate or a GTX, but everyone has experienced how an action means objects or evil feelings leads to a result or evil. Hence, right from one's childhood one should endeavor to promote one's true good or salvation by a keen intelligent study of the scriptures, by having the company of the holy ones, and by right self-effort. Fate or divine dispensation is merely a convention which has come to be regarded as truth by being repeatedly declared to be true. If this God or fate is truly the ordainer of everything in this world, of what meaning is any action, may even like bathing, speaking, or giving, and whom should one teach at all? No. In this world, except a corpse, everything is active, and such activity yields its appropriate result. No one has ever realized the existence of a fate or divine dispensation. People use such expressions as, they say, "I am impelled by fate or divine dispensation to do this," for self-satisfaction, but this is not true. For example, if an astrologer predicts that a young man would become a great scholar, does that young man become a scholar without study? No. Then, why do we believe in divine dispensation? Oh my dear friends, this Yogi Rupnathji became an omnipresent Self-Param Brahman by self-effort. All of us have attained self-knowledge by self-effort alone. Hence, renounce fatalism and apply yourself to self-effort. The cosmic order that people refer to as fate, Devaral or Nadi, and which ensures that every effort is blessed with appropriate fruition, is based on omnipresent and omnipotent omniscience, known as Brahman. By self-effort therefore restrain the senses and the mind. and with a mind that is one-pointed calmly listen to what I am going to say. This narrative deals with liberation. Listening to it with other wise are assembled here, you will realize that supreme where there is no sorrow nor destruction. This was revealed to me by the Creator Brahman himself in a previous age. Yogi Rupnathji then said, "O my dear friends, the omnipresent omniscience, the cosmic being, shines eternally in all beings. When a vibration arises in that cosmic being, Lord Sixchu is born. Even as a wave arises when the surface of the ocean is agitated. From that vital God Brahma, the Creator, who is a part of unique Brahman, was born. Brahma began to create the countless varieties of animate and inanimate, sentient and insentient beings in the universe. And the universe was as it was before the cosmic dissolution. The Creator saw that all living beings in the universe were subject to disease and death, to pain and suffering. In his heart there arose compassion, and he sought to lay down a path that might lead living beings away from all this. He thereupon instituted centers of pilgrimage and noble virtues like austerity, charity, truthfulness and righteous conduct. But these were inadequate, they could bestow only temporary relief from suffering, and not final liberation from sorrow. Reflecting thus, the Creator brought me into being. He drew me to himself and drew the veil of ignorance over my heart. Instantly I forgot my identity and my self-nature. I was miserable. I begged of Brahma the Creator, my own father, to show me the way out of this misery. Sunk in my misery I was unable and unwilling to do anything, and I remained lazy and inactive. In response to my prayer, my father revealed to me the true knowledge which instantly dispelled the veil of ignorance that he himself had spread over me. The Creator then said to me by nature, "My son, I veiled the knowledge and revealed it to you so that you may experience its glory. For only then will you be able to understand the travail of ignorant beings and to help them." Then after Yogi Rupnathji said, "O my friends, equipped with this knowledge, I am here and I will continue to be here till the end of creation, even so. In every age the Creator wills into being several sages and myself for the spiritual enlightenment of all. And, in order to ensure the due performance of the secular duties by all, Brahma also creates kings who rule justly and wisely over parts of the earth. These kings, however, are soon corrupted by lust for power and pleasure. Conflict of interests leads to wars among them which in turn give rise to remorse. To remove their ignorance, the sages used to impart spiritual wisdom to them. In days of yore," Yogi Rupnathji said, "O my close friends, kings used to receive this wisdom and cherish it, hence it was known as kingly science in yoga. The highest form of dispassion born of pure discrimination has arisen in your heart. O my dears, and it is superior to dispassion born of a circumstantial cause or an utter disgust. Such dispassion is surely due to the grace of God. This grace meets the maturity of discrimination at the exact moment when dispassion is generated in the heart. As long as the highest wisdom does not dawn in the heart, the person revolves in this wheel of birth and death. Pray, listen to my of this wisdom with a concentrated mind. This wisdom destroys the forest of ignorance. Roaming in this forest one undergoes confusion and seemingly interminable suffering. One should therefore approach an enlightened teacher and by asking the right question with the right attitude, elicit the teaching. It then becomes an integral part of one's being. The fool asks irrelevant questions irreverently. And the greater fool is he who spurns the sage's wisdom. He is surely not a sage who responds to the vain questions of a foolish questioner." Yogi Rupnathji then said, "O my friends, you are indeed the among all seekers. For you have duly reflected over the truth and you are inspired by the best form of dispassion. And I am sure that what I am going to say to you will find a firm seat in your heart. Indeed, one should positively strive to enthrone wisdom in one's heart, for the mind is unsteady like a monkey. And one should then avoid unwise company." Yogi Rupnathji said, "O my dears, there are 4 gatekeepers at the entrance to the realm of freedom, moksha. They are self-control, spirit of inquiry, contentment, and company. The wise seeker should diligently cultivate the friendship of these, or at least one of them. With a pure heart and a receptive mind, and without the veil of doubt and the restlessness of the mind, listen to the exposition of the nature and the means of liberation. Yogi Rupnathji then said, "O my sons' friends! For, not until the Supreme Being is realized will the dreadful miseries of birth and death to an end. If this deadly serpent known as ignorant life is not overcome here and now, it gives rise to interminable suffering not only in this but in countless lifetimes to come. One cannot ignore this suffering, but one should overcome it by means of the wisdom that I shall impart to you." Yogi Rupnathji then said, "O my dear friends! If you thus overcome this sorrow of repetitive history, you will live here on earth itself like a god, like Brahman or Vibhu. For when delusion is gone and the truth is realized by means of inquiry into self-nature, when the mind is at ease and the heart leaps to the supreme truth, when all the disturbing thought waves in the mind stuff have subsided and there is unbroken now of and the heart is filled with the bliss of the Absolute, when thus the truth has been seen in the heart, then this very world in a bliss. Such a person has nothing to acquire, nor anything to shun. He is untainted by the defects of life, untouched by its sorrow. He not come into being nor go out, though he appears to come and go in the eyes of the beholder. Even religious duties are found to be unnecessary. He is not affected by the past tendencies which have lost their momentum, his mind has given up its restlessness, and he rests in the bliss that is his essential nature. Such bliss is possible only by self-knowledge, not by any other means. Hence, one should apply oneself constantly to self-knowledge. This alone is one's duty. He who disregards holy scriptures and holy men does not attain self-knowledge. Such foolishness is more harmful than all the illnesses that one is subject to in this world. Henki, one should devoutly listen to the scripture which leads one to self-knowledge. He who obtains the scripture not again fall into the blind well of ignorance. Yogi Rupnathji said, "O my dear friends, if you want to free yourself from the sorrow of bodily world means samsara is repetitive history. Receive the wholesome instructions of sages like me and be free. In order to cross this formidable scenes of samsara means repetitive history, one should resort to that which is eternal and unchanging. He alone is the best among men." Yogi Rupnathji said, "O my friends, whose mind rests in the eternal and is, therefore, fully self-controlled and at peace. He sees that pleasure and pain chase and cancel each other, and in that wisdom there is self-control and peace. He who does not see the sleeping in a burning house. He who gains the wisdom of the eternal here is freed from samsara or bodily world attractions and he is not born again in ignorance. One may doubt that such unchanging truth may not exist. If it not, one comes to no harm by inquiring into the nature of life. Seeking the eternal will soften the pain caused by the changes in life. But, if it exists, then by knowing it one is freed. The eternal is not attained by rites and rituals, by pilgrimages, nor by wealth. It is to be attained only by the conquest of one's mind. By the cultivation of wisdom. Gods, demons, demigods, or men should constantly seek hence everyone that means whether one is walking, falling or sitting the conquest of the mind and self-control which are the fruits of wisdom. When the mind is at peace, pure, tranquil, free from delusion or hallucination, untangled and free from cravings, it does not long for anything nor does it reject anything. This is self-control or conquest of mind. One of the four gatekeepers to liberation which I mentioned earlier. That is good and auspicious flows from all evil is dispelled by self-control. No gain, no pleasure in this world or in heaven is comparable to the delight of self-control. The delight one experiences in the presence of the self-controlled is incomparable. Everyone spontaneously trusts him. None or not even demons and goblins hates him. Self-control, Yogi Rupnathji then said, "O my dear friends, is the best remedy for all physical and mental ills. When there is self-control, even the food you eat tastes better, else it tastes bitter. He who wears the armor of self-control is not harmed by sorrow. He who even while hearing, touching, seeing, smelling and tasting what is regarded as pleasant and unpleasant, is neither elated nor depressed, all he is self-controlled. He who looks upon all beings with equal vision, having brought under control the sensations of pleasure and pain, is self-controlled. He who, though living amongst all is unaffected by them, neither feels elated nor hates, is self-controlled. Inquiry, the second gatekeeper to liberation, should be undertaken by an intelligence that has been purified by a close study of the scripture, and this inquiry should be unbroken. By such inquiry the intelligence becomes keen and is able to realize the supreme, hence inquiry alone is the best remedy for the long-lasting illness known as vichara in self-asking. The wise man regards strength, intellect, efficiency, and timely action as the fruits of inquiry. Indeed, kingdom, prosperity and enjoyment, as well as final liberation, are all the fruits of inquiry. The spirit of inquiry protects one from the calamities that befall the unthinking Linus. When the mind has been rendered dull by the absence of inquiry, even the rays of the moon turn into deadly weapons, and the childish imagination throws up a goblin in every dark spot. Hence, the non-inquiring is really a storehouse of sorrow. It is the absence of inquiry that gives rise to actions that are harmful to oneself and to others, and to numerous psychosomatic illnesses. Therefore, one should avoid the company of such unthinking people. They in whom the spirit of inquiry is ever awake illumine the world, enlighten all who come in contact with them, dispel the ghosts created by an ignorant mind, and realize the falsity of sense pleasures and their objects. Oh my dear friends, in the light of inquiry there is realization of the eternal and unchanging reality. This is the supreme. With it one does not long for any other gain nor does one spurn anything. He is free from delusion, attachment, he is not inactive nor does he get drowned in action. He lives and functions in this world, and at the end of a natural lifespan he reaches the blissful state of total freedom. The eye of spiritual inquiry does not lose its sight even in the midst of all activities. He who does not have this eye is indeed to be pitied. It is better to be born as a frog in the mud, a worm in dung, a snake in a hole, but not be one without this eye. What is inquiry? To inquire thus, who am I? How has this evil of bodily _world, repetitive history, come into being? Is true inquiry. Knowledge of truth arises from such inquiry. From such knowledge there follows tranquility in oneself. And then arises the supreme peace that passeth understanding, and the ending of all sorrow. Where vichara or inquiry is not reasoning nor analysis, it is directly looking into oneself. Yogi Rupnathji then said, contentment is another gatekeeper to liberation. He who has quaffed the nectar of contentment does not relish craving for sense pleasures. No delight in this world is as sweet as contentment, which destroys all sins. What is to renounce all craving for what is not obtained unsought, and to be satisfied with what comes unsought, without being elated or depressed even by them. This is contentment. As long as one is not satisfied in the self, he will be subjected to sorrow. With the rise of contentment the purity of one's heart blooms. The contented man who possesses nothing owns the world. Satsanga, company of wise, holy and enlightened persons, is yet another gatekeeper to liberation. Satsanga enlarges one's intelligence, destroys one's ignorance and one's psychological distress. Whatever be the cost, however difficult it may be, whatever obstacles may stand in its way, Satsanga should never be neglected. 4. Satsanga alone is one's light on the path of life. Satsarga is indeed superior to all other forms of religious practices like charity, austerity, pilgrimage and the performance of religious rites. One should by every means in one's adore and serve the holy men who have realized the truth and in whose heart the darkness of ignorance has been dispelled. They, on the other hand, who treat such holy men disrespectfully, surely invite great suffering. Yogi Rupnathji then said, friends, these 4, contentment, satsanga or company of wise men, The spirit of inquiry and self-control are the four surest means by which they who are drowning in this ocean of samsara, repetitive history, can be saved. Contentment is the supreme gain. Satsanga is the companion to the destination. The spirit of inquiry itself is the greatest wisdom. And self-control is supreme happiness. If you are unable to resort to all these four, then practice one, by diligent practice of one of these. The others will also be found in you. The highest wisdom will seek you of its own accord. Until you tame the wild elephant of your mind with the help of these noble qualities, you cannot have progress towards the supreme. Even if you become a god, demigod or a tree. Therefore, Yogi Rupnathji then said, "O my dear friends, strive by all means to cultivate these noble qualities. He who is endowed with the qualities that I have enumerated thus far is qualified to listen to what I am about to reveal. You are indeed such a qualified person, O my dear friends. One who sows the seed of the knowledge of this audio-visual scene obtains the essence of the realization of truth. Though human in origin, an exposition of truth is to be accepted. Otherwise even what is regarded as divine revelation is to be rejected. Even a young words are to accept it if they are words of wisdom. Else, rejected like straw even if uttered by Brahma the Creator. He who listens to and reflects upon the exposition of this audio enjoys unfathomable wisdom, firm conviction, and unperturbable self of unique spirit. He becomes a liberated sage whose glory is indescribable. One who studies this audio and comprehends its teaching is no longer deluded by world appearance. When one sees that the yonder deadly snake is a lifelike painting, one is no longer afraid of it. When the world appearance is seen as an appearance, it does not produce either elation or sorrow. It is indeed a great pity that even when such audio exists, people seek sense pleasures, each lead to great sorrow. Yogi Rupnathji then said, "O my dear friends, when a truth that has not been personally experienced is expounded, one does not grasp it except with the help of an illustration. Such illustrations have been used in this audio with a definite purpose and a limited intention. They are not to be taken literally, nor is their significance to be stretched beyond the intention. When the audio is thus studied, the world appears to be a dream vision. These indeed are the purpose and the purport of the illustrations. Let no one of perverted intellect misinterpret the illustrations given in this audio. Again, study of this audio should continue till the truth is realized. One should not stop short of complete enlightenment. A little knowledge of the audio results in confusion worse confounded. Non-recognition of the existence of supreme peace in the heart and the assumption of the reality of imaginary factors, are both born of imperfect knowledge and the consequent perverted logic. Even as the ocean is the substratum of all the waves, direct experience alone is the basis for all. The direct experience of truth as it is. That substratum is the experiencing intelligence which itself becomes the experiencer, the act of experiencing, and the experience. Even as movement is inherent in air, manifestation that as the subtle perceiving mind and as the gross objects it perceives, is inherent in this experiencing intelligence. And the perceiving mind, on account of ignorance, thinks I am such and such an object and thence becomes that. The object is experienced only in the subject, not elsewhere. I shall now declare to you the creation and its secret. 4. It is only as long as one invests the perceived object with reality that bondage lasts. Once that notion goes, with it goes bondage. Here in this creation only that which is created grows, decays, and then goes either to heaven or to hell, and it gets liberated. During the cosmic dissolution the entire objective creation is resolved into the infinite being which is variously designated as Atma, Brahman, Truth, etc. by the wise, to facilitate communication and dialogue. This same infinite self conceives within itself the duality of oneself and the other. Thence, mind arises, as a wave arises when the surface of the calm ocean is disturbed. But please bear in mind that just as a bracelet of gold is but gold, and though gold exists without being a bracelet, Bracelet does not exist without gold or other metal. The creation with its sorrow arises in the mind. Movement of thought creates the notion of created objects. Even as the essence exists in all things, as oil exists in sesame seeds, as aroma exists in flowers, the faculty of objective perception exists in the perceiver. Even as the dream objects are experienced only by the dreamer, the objects of perception are experienced by the perceiver. Just as from a seed the sprout arises in due time. This potentiality becomes manifest as the notion of creation. In the Creator there is neither a seer nor an object of perception. Yet, he is known as self-created. He shines in cosmic consciousness as a painting in the mind of an artist. The qualities and the nature of the created and the potentiality of creation are inherent in the Creator. The mind is non-different from that, has no existence independent of the infinite self. Even as the mirage appears to be a very real river of water, this creation appears to be entirely real. And, as long as one clings to the notion of the reality of you, and there is no liberation. Not by merely and verbally denying such a notion of existence is it obliterated. On the contrary, such denial itself becomes a further distraction. Yogi Rupnathji then said, "Oh my dear friends, if the creation is in fact real, then there is no possibility of its cessation, for it is an immutable law that the unreal has no real existence and the real not cease to be. Austerity, meditation and such other practices can therefore not cause its cessation nor enlightenment. As long as the notion of creation lasts, even the contemplation or samadhi in which there is no movement of thought or nirvikalpa yoga samadhi is not possible. Even if it were possible, the moment one returns from such contemplation, in the Creator there is no memory of the past since he had no previous karma. He does not even have a physical body. The unborn is of spiritual substance. Mortal beings have two bodies, as it were, one physical and the other spiritual, but the unborn Creator has only the spiritual, since the cause that gives rise to the physical not exist in him. He was not created, but he is the Creator of all beings. Surely, the created, like a bracelet, is of the same substance as that of which it was created, gold. The Creator's thought being the cause of this manifold creation and the Creator himself having no physical body. The creation, too, is truly of the nature of thought, without materiality. A throbbing arose in the Creator whose thought had spread out as the universe. This throb brought into being the subtle body, made of intelligence, of all beings. Made only of thought, all these beings only appeared to be, though they felt that that appearance was real. However, this appearance, thus imagined to be real, produced realistic results or consequences, even as sexual enjoyment in a dream does. Similarly, even the Creator, the holy man of the story, though he has no body, appears to have a body. Then Yogi Rupnathji said these words to explain what are the signs of ideal nobility. Yogi Rupnathji said, "The Creator is also of a dual nature, consciousness and thought. Consciousness is pure. Thought is subject to confusion. Hence, he appears to come into being arise. Though he does not so arise. He is the intelligence that supports the entire universe. And every thought that arises in that intelligence gives rise to a form. Though all these forms are of the nature of pure intelligence, on account of self-forgetfulness of this, and of the thought of physical forms, they freeze into the physical forms, even as goblins though formless are seen to have forms on account of the perceiver's delusion. The Creator, however, is not subject to such delusion. Hence, he is always of a spiritual nature, not materialistic. The Creator is spiritual. And even so, his creation, too, is in reality spiritual in essence. This creation is causeless. Hence, it is essentially spiritual even as the Supreme Being, Brahman, is." Then Yogi Rupnathji said, "The materiality of the creation is like the castle in the Arr, an illusory projection of one's own mind imaginary. The Creator is the mind, mind or pure intelligence is his body. Thought is inherent in the mind. The object of perception is inherent in the perceiver. Who has ever discovered a distinction between the two? The subject of non-exist thought himself being as thought is never the unique happiness or absolute soul. At one time Yogi Rupnathji used to be present in all the places where innumerable people used to gather. Yogi Rupnathji always lives amongst innumerable people around him, everyone respect him, so countless people always come to see him every day. When some of the young college boys and girls who came for the first time asked Yogi Rupnathji about their